Welcome to Loco Gringo, Mexico, the place where we transform a tourist into a traveler, because you deserve to see more of the world than just what's in a guidebook. Each week, we talk with amazing locals who know the Riviera Maya and Yucatan like only a local can, and get them to share their tips and insights on the local scene, culture, and cuisine from a local's perspective. So, pour yourself a margarita, grab a comfy chair, and let's get the show going.
Well, everybody, this is Kay Walton. So glad to have you with us. Well, we're going to be speaking with David Placencia. Now, David is originally from the Pacific coast of Mexico, and he talks about when he started his college education that his heart was in biology, and he made his way over to the Caribbean coast where he learned how to scuba dive and really focus on marine biology, and he has great stories above and below the waterline. He also talks about his experiences working with a local ecological group and bay management program. But, you know, as a student, he was a poor student, and I know many of us can relate to being a poor college student, but he realized that his friends couldn't cook very well. So he would get to cook, and his friends would buy the groceries. It was a great trade. And he discovered his passion for cooking using some of the great recipes that he inherited from his mom and his grandmother. And it has led him today to David Chef Services, and David provides chef service at vacation rentals. He also can offer in-home cooking classes, which are a lot of fun. David, hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, David. Hey, thanks for joining the show today. David, you know, the wonderful thing I love about being the host of our show is that I get to learn things about people I thought I knew a great deal about. And I was reading over some information, and I see that your school of education is in biology.
Yes.
And here in Akamal, you're known as Chef David. Tell us a little bit about your background on your life before Chef David.
Of course. I am originally from the north of the country, Pacific side. It's a place called Mazatlan. It used to be very popular back in the 90s. I moved to Puebla in the center of Mexico to study biology, and I went back and forward from Puebla City and Mexico City during the last year of the career, because I was mainly focusing in cellular biology. So I was doing a lot of work in laboratories and research. It got to a point that I said, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be, in a closed lab for the rest of my life. So I decided to take a gap year to find myself into what I really wanted about my career, because I love my career. It's something that I'm really passionate about. So a friend invited me to move to Cancun. This is around 12 years ago. And just to check it out, he said, hey, if you want biology, there is a lot of biology going on here. And I said, all right, let's do it. So I moved down to Cancun. It wasn't what I was expecting, but I had some amazing life experience. I got the opportunity to volunteer for an organization that is called GVI, Global Vision International, and they teach me how to dive. And the first moment I stepped one foot in the water, underwater world, it completely changed my life. I actually mark my life as before I learned to dive and after I learned to dive, because my life changed completely. I went back to school. I knew what I wanted. I said, I don't want to do the research. I want to start doing, more field work. It was not easy, because all my preparation for 2 years was all to laboratory, and I didn't have all the knowledge that requires to, do field work. But I did it, and I moved to Puerto Morelos for a year. After I graduated, to finish my thesis work in Mexico, you need to do a thesis to get your degree. So I moved into Puerto Morelos at the National Mexican University, UNAM, and stay there until I finished my thesis, which was related to diving, and I was working with lobsters. I remember I was so broke, and all I had in my fridge to eat was lobsters. Can you believe that?
Now, it kind of sounds, you're studying lobsters and yet you're eating lobsters. It's almost like a contradiction.
Yeah, there was another girl that was doing some sort of behavior experiment with the lobsters, and we needed to go night diving to catch the lobsters so she can do the research. So we needed to catch around 50 or 60 lobsters at a time for her to be able to do this behavior research. And when it was done, you need to, we let the lobster goes, but we were all students there, we were all students with a very, very short, how do you say, when they give you money for...
Oh, an allowance?
Scholarship. Yeah, scholarship. So my scholarship back then was like 5,000 pesos a month. So that was nothing. They were giving us accommodation and everything, but still you need to eat, right?
Exactly.
So they allow us to keep some of the lobsters for personal consumption, which it was great. And so that was an amazing year. I went to Banco Chinchorro in the Mahahual like 4 times and stay over like for 3 days, which almost no one is allowed to do that. I had some amazing experience as biologist. Funny, that's when I started cooking. I always loved to cook. I have always, since I was little, my mom worked, so my mom always had stuff that we can prepare my brother and myself fast, to go before we go to school. And so I had never been afraid to the kitchen or the stove or anything like that, or to experiment, And I didn't knew this quality was so great until I moved to university, where none of my friends knew how to cook. So it was a good exchange. I cooked, they provide the food, so it was really good.
Sounds like a nice trade.
And so after I'm at UNAM, because my scholarship was very, very little amount of money. I asked my the doctor that was in charge of my thesis, if I could start cooking and bring in some food for either the students or the staff at the institute. And he said, "Yeah, do it." So that's when I first started charging for cooking. And a couple of investigators, a couple of doctors over there hired me to do some dinners at their houses, birthdays and stuff. And I like it. I really, really like it. And when I finally finished and I was looking for a job, this is how I ended up in Akumal. Someone in the institute was also working for an organization in Akumal that is called Centro Ecológico Akumal, in short, CEA. And he invited me over for an interview, and I got the job. So that's when I moved to Akumal.
And what did you do for CEA? What was the job there?
I was, in the beginning, when I got in there was a program that was just starting. It's called POVAC, or organization program for the Bay. It was basically, we're trying to make the Bay sustainable for the amount of tours that were coming in. So this was around 2008, and the program was just starting that year. And my job was basically to survey that all the activities that we're doing on the Bay were doing correctly. So I was in the kayak a lot. I was snorkeling a lot, and I had I was checking the amount of people that go in the water, And yeah, that's what I was doing at the beginning.
I didn't realize that the Bay Management Program started as early as 2008, where they were actually watching how many people were swimming in the bay and experiencing the turtles and hanging out on the beach. So it's great to hear. It's great to hear that it started, 8-9 years ago. Because I didn't recall that. That's wonderful.
Yes, the program started, and I remember that my job was key because they didn't have anyone to survey what was going on. The program started because the amount of tours went up, but back then, so everyone was together: the hotel owners, the tour operators, the outsider tour operators, and everyone, was donating money for basically my salary was out of the donation that people gave. I remember that I was in charge of putting the buoy system, that it was completely broken. And I did that for a year and a half.
Before I forget, what was the buoy system originally installed? Was it for safety or environmental protection? What was that? What was the main purpose for it?
It was both, because you needed to have, because there was a lot of, remember in the beginning, the snorkel tours were given from a boat. So people will jump in the boat and then they will use some more, an anchor in the middle of the bay, and then the people will jump from a snorkel. So there was a lot more boats coming up and down in the bay. So it was an accident waiting to happen. So what they did is that when they put the buoy system, it was to mark the area where the boats were passing by, and to mark the area where the snorkelers could stay. And there were two different areas that were no access because of how shallow the water is there, and people was always hitting the coral with their fins or standing on the corals or stuff like that.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, and just a little tip to all of our listeners is that if you're out snorkeling, is that not to put your feet down on the corals. They're not rocks; that they're actually a living organism. So just a friendly reminder to watch where you put your feet while you're out there.
Yeah, another big part of my work was education, because people don't know. People don't know what is a coral. People don't know the difference between a live coral and a dead coral. And it might sound amazing for us, but we have to understand there are people that have never been in the water before, or that have never seen a coral reef before. And so the most important part was education, not just to visitors, but also to the locals.
Yeah, I can see where that's important.
No, the things I saw when I was doing surveillance were amazing, from people trying to feed the turtles bananas to people jumping off a turtle or grabbing a turtle to ride the turtle, or taking the turtle outside the water so their kids can pet them. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's just a really good reminder is that any marine life, turtles, dolphins, anything, is to look and not to touch.
Exactly. After being the controlador, that was my official, the official name that they gave me. I moved into the reef monitoring program as a coordinator, because the person that was there decided to go. So I applied for that, and I got it. And that's what I did from the beginning to the end of my stay at FEA. But it was amazing. I was in charge of the volunteers. I was in charge of getting volunteers. And like a year after I started with the Ecological Center, I decided to, because of a local friend, I decided to open David Chef Service, which in the beginning was only dinners, because I had a day job, right? I had my biology job. And it was only dinners, and mainly only on the weekend. So that's how it started.
And you cook now full time? You're not there. I know you're, well, let's say I haven't heard any stories of you snorkeling or diving these days. So cooking keeps you pretty busy all week now, doesn't it?
Yes. The company really, really kicked off, and we are very happy. It's not just me now. Now I have four other chefs that help me, and we keep ourselves very busy. I have a problem. I have a problem with saying no. So every time someone requests something, I say yes, and that that make us grow a little bit more every year.
Now, I know that our staff here at Loco Gringo, we've had you come over and cook for several office parties that we've had, and I've absolutely loved it. What makes your service special? I know that you really kind of skew towards very authentic type of cuisine. I think even there were some dishes that you made for us once that were from northern Mexico. So do you try to stick to the really authentic type dishes, or do you venture out into more of a fusion type food that's very popular these days?
It's very amazing how when you start a company like this one, I asked in the beginning to the first clients that I had, what do you guys want? And they told me, we want to eat what you will eat at your house. We want to eat what Mexican people eat at their homes, not what we as tourists are used either on our countries or when we come here. So the menu that I put together, very first menu that I put together was mainly, let's say, whatever my mom cooked at my house. So I put a lot of dishes that people were not familiar with, and people loved it. And I liked the fact that they, of course, like my mom's food, and like this more authentic, because I always hear these comments about this is not what we eat in the U.S. This is not what we eat in Canada as Mexican food, and so I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted to keep it, a homemade style. I wanted to keep it more authentic. But of course, now a bigger company and more chefs, people ask or request food that is not necessarily on my menu, or that, it's not as authentic as I wish. But people like it, so we don't offer it as on the webpage, but if people request it, we are always happy to please their palate and whatever they want.
What are your favorites, David? Some of your favorite dishes that you prepare? I know there's a few things that are that I love that you make, but what are some of your personal favorites?
My personal favorites, I love the chicken with mushroom cream and chipotle. This is one of my mom's dishes. I absolutely love that one. The fish tacos have become very popular, and I really like them as well.
And do you have a favorite dessert?
Oh, the zucchini chocolate cake. I love the zucchini chocolate cake.
Ooh, I haven't tried that. And is that a family recipe, or just one that you picked up along the way?
This is a recipe that it was given to me by a volunteer from Canada while she was at the Centro Ecológico, and I loved it. I loved it because it's a really great way to have kids eat some vegetables, and moms really appreciate that. And the consistency that the zucchini gives to the cake is just very, very nice.
Sounds delicious. David, you've had a great opportunity in your life to be in Mazatlan, in Puebla. And although your heart's here in the Riviera Maya, are there any other places in Mexico that are favorites of yours that you wouldn't mind going back to and you would recommend if people are traveling the country of Mexico, they might want to check out?
It's more than a place. It's a food.
A food, okay.
I really miss the food, the seafood of Mazatlan. I think there is no other part in the country that has such an amazing seafood, so fresh, and the skills of preparing the food in Mazatlan, at least the seafood, is just amazing. when I look back to my student years, I can't. Puebla was amazing food. So vast and so different, from everything that I was used to. And I think if it's seafood, I have to say Mazatlan. But if it's Mexican, gastronomy, the way it is, the mole, the chile poblano, the chiles en nogada, I have to say Puebla. But as a place that I love, I tend to love more happy moments than a place. It makes sense to you?
Absolutely. Do you have a happy moment you can share with us?
Yes, of course. I think one of the places that I have the most happy moments, it's Puebla. It's the place where I discovered myself. It's the place where I grew. It's the first place that I live alone. It's the place where I made the friends that I still treasure today. First day of school, first day of university, first day of having to go to university. That's something that I treasure a lot.
Beautiful memories. Absolutely. Can you tell me, David, here in the Riviera Maya and Yucatan, a few of your favorite spots that you could recommend to visitors coming to the area where they can have their happy moments and create those special times in their life?
If people have the chance to visit Banco Chinchorro, which is off the coast of Mahagua, like 30 kilometers, I know there are tours happening now. Banco Chinchorro will wow you. It's for people that appreciate the diving and the snorkeling and all this, the coral is in amazing shape, and it's like transporting yourself in time to imagine how the reef was, 30 years ago. And that's one of my favorite spots. If you get the chance to go with a local, that it will cook you in the little huts. They literally go fish, right in front of their little huts, and they prepare the ceviche. You can't get any more fresh than that.
Absolutely. Anything a little bit closer to the coast, Banco Chinchorro is a great, and the one thing I'll comment here for our listeners, and Banco Chinchorro is absolutely, as David said, is a wonderful place, but sometimes it's weather dependent in getting out there. You can't, the best time to probably go is when we have what's called a north wind. And there, usually when the north winds come, there's like a 3-day window when the sea's really flat and it's easy. It's a lot faster to get out there because there's not a lot of waves. So if you want to go out to Banco Chinchorro, you want to make sure you kind of keep an eye on the weather and ask the boat captains or tour guides, how the ride's going to be and how long the ride's going to be. David, anything closer to home here for people who are more up to the northern part?
Closer to Akuma. I'm afraid to say because I don't want to get full with people.
I understand.
No, people have to go to Escazal. It's a beautiful, gorgeous beach that, again, it reminds you how things used to look, before the development. And another reason that I love to go there is because their tour program is still going, and whatever money that they request for some money to get in, and whatever money they get, it goes directly to the turtle protection program. The only building in there, it's a hut that it's for the turtle people during the turtle season, and they also have volunteers during turtle season for checking the nest and for the hatching, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure you've been there, right?
I have been there many, many times. I remember back, I'm dating myself now, when it used to be a campground and there used to be people live there. So it was back a few years, to say the least. David, how soon, I'm going to switch back to the cooking here, is that if people want to reach out to you, to arrange your cook services or your chef services, how far in advance? I know we've had guests that we've hired you for the holidays, and we've had to do it months in advance because your services are so popular. But how much advance notice should people give you or contact you to start arranging menus and getting you set up for their stay?
My advice will be the sooner the better. There are many things that can be underway, and we have a limited staff. And for example, right now, by the end of February, I already have bookings for Christmas and New Year's. So I already have, 2 chefs completely booked for Christmas and New Year's. And right now, this week is becoming very busy, and I have a lot of last-minute calls that I'm having to say no because I just don't have the staff to cover these houses right now. So I will suggest don't wait for the last minute. Booked. We are very flexible, if you decide to book one day and then that date can happen and you need to move it to the other day, we allow you to move it to the other day. We do ask for a deposit just because before people used to book us for a whole week and then we saved the dates and then we didn't hear from them. So now we ask a deposit just to reassure, that people are serious about hiring the service. And as I said, I always try to say yes, but there are some times that it's just not possible, that we don't have the staff to manage all the calls, all the service. Oh, we also offer cooking lessons, which are a lot of fun.
Excellent! And do you go right to the people's houses to show them where their rental property?
Yes. So the menu for the cooking lessons is very basic. I show them how to do 2 simple salsas, usually a green and a red, and then we made handmade corn tortillas. And based on the dough on the masa, we made deep fried empanadas or molotes, and then quesadillas. And then I allow them to choose another dish that will fit the cooking lesson time, which is usually 3 to 4 hours. But during that whole time, as food is coming out, people can start. We make also homemade chips, so people can start snacking while we're doing the cooking lesson, and it is really nice. It's a good fun. It's a fun thing to do with the kids. And also with your friends, for adults, more elaborated dishes are really fun. Excellent.
David, best way people can reach out to you, which is best? Your website, Facebook? What do you suggest?
On my webpage, you can find my email. That's the best way. The absolute best way is email. A lot of people call me or WhatsApp me, but all the information that we discuss has always seems to be written down, just because in case I miss anything or the client, miss the information that they give me. So it's very important that the way they contact me is better to have, dates, write it down, and the menu, write it down, and everything. And so I will say email.
Okay, excellent. Well, we'll have links over from our show notes over to the website, and of course, people can always contact me, askkay@locogringo.com, and I can hook you up with David. Hey, David, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great.
It was a pleasure. I'm really happy I did this with you.
Oh, well, that's awesome. And I hope we get together soon. Maybe after high season, we can maybe we'll have a little cooking class in the office.
Of course. It will be my pleasure.
All righty. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. And before you go, just a reminder, you can go to locogringo.com/podcasts for today's show notes with links over to David's website and his email address so you can hook up with him for cooking school, chef services, and even if you have a biology question, he may have the answer for you.
Thanks for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe. For links, show notes, and more information, head on over to locogringo.com or give us a call toll-free at 800-478-0081.
Porque se tragó la luna estaba enferma la rana. Su madre soba que soba, dedos de pluma la panza. Pensó ranita que luna era una toronja blanca, y aunque la luna es de leche, la leche estaba cortada. Croa, croa, dedos de pluma. Croa, croa, dedos de agua. Croa, croa.